Friends, today we celebrate St. Martin de Porres, a humble Dominican lay brother who reminds us that holiness is not in grand gestures, but in humble service. St. Martin de Porres was born in 16th century Peru to a Spanish father and a freed African slave mother. And so St. Martin, he kind of faced a dual kind of racial prejudice and poverty. Yet he kind of transformed these obstacles that he faced into grace. So his sanctity came from poverty and being racially prejudiced. Martin embraced a life of service, joining the Dominican lay brothers, not a priest, but a servant. Due to those social barriers, he wasn't a priest, but he was assigned with kind of doing the lowly tasks of like sweeping the dishes, tending to the sick, caring for the poor, and the animals. He embraced this kind of work with such love that his simple duties became powerful prayers. It reminds me of Teresa Lisieux, but again, this was about, 250 years, 280 years before Teresa Lisieux. St. Martin de Porres lived that life of simplicity and put the love into his actions, so much so that he became quite known for his sanctity. He saw Christ in all people, especially creatures, the suffering. So he had a love for animals like Francis, but also the destitute. He saw Christ in every suffering face, whether human or animal, slave or master. His infirmary was always packed, and it became a sanctuary for everyone. Everyone who was looking for care and God's mercy, he gave. His heart overflowed with God's love and mercy, tending to the sick and the poor, so much so that, even animals too, but there were a lot of miracles associated with St. Martin de Porres. So, and he also had the gift of bilocation, which Padre Pio had, and a few other mystics. Martin's story echoes the gospel in Matthew chapter 25. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers, you did for me. And so he saw Christ in every soul. He saw Christ in others who were suffering greatly, and especially orphans. So we have an orphanage from our diocese in Peru as well. And I've been there about 20 years ago, but I went and saw Martin de Porres. Great. It was St. Rita of Lima and Martin de Porres at the cathedral in Lima. It was the first time I ever saw or was in the presence of a saint, and it was profound. You could feel that holy energy just emanating in the sanctuary where his tomb was. It was tangible. It was a spiritual experience for me, one of my first. Helped me with discerning my vocation to the priesthood. So in our busy world, Martin's example challenges us. Can we practice that kind of radical love? Can we practice that kind of charity? We should invite him into, and through his intercession, to help us, have compassion to others. And so, especially in serving the marginalized as he did. Martin teaches us that authentic faith isn't measured by status or achievement, but how we love those in society, no matter who, the rich and the poor alike. He practices, this radical hospitality in his vocation, and he built an infirmary. It's like a modern day hospital. Back then, there was great need for caring for the soul and feeding the hungry and taking care of the homeless and sheltering them, etc. He was very resourceful in doing so. And so in our world that's full of division and inequality, St. Martin calls us to cross those boundaries and to love our brothers and sisters, especially those who have no one, who are homeless, who are sick. True sanctity is this way. Martin shows us that in his radical life, kind of like Francis. He's like the Francis of Assisi of South America. He shows, and Teresa Lisieux a little bit. He's kind of a mix of all. Francis, because of his love for animals, and his radical, because he wasn't a priest either. Teresa Lisieux, Teresa of Calcutta, and Francis. That's who Martin de Porres was. So put love into the ordinary acts of love. That's how they become extraordinary. God bless.